In today's video, we're trying to lose body fat. We're trying to go from something like this to something like this. And by the way, that was Dan who just won our last transformation challenge. Should we just focus on cardio and calories until we get the body fat off and then add resistance training in after we've lost the body fat? Let me explain. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Ravella from ProPhysique.com, and today I got a great video discussion on the idea of fat loss and the approach that we take to fat loss, and a great question that came from my Instagram direct message. So thank you guys for sending me the questions. I love answering and just kind of giving you my insights and my experience. And this question is a good one because I think it's a question I get all the time, and often I have different opinions on it. So we'll talk about it. What do you think about the approach that I used to lose the first 60 pounds with cardio and then transition into weights and cardio? I was 270 pounds on April 9th. This morning I was 223. I lost a lot of weight very quickly, was previously in shape 4 years ago. My goal is 190, but when I drop to 210, I'm gonna start lifting again to lose the last 20 pounds of fat, combining cardio and lifting. Doing cardio and weights at 270 with a lot of body fat and bloated wasn't working well for me. Do you think it's an approach that can work for a lot of people? So the term work is where we have to define the issue here. Will it work? It's obviously working for you. You've obviously lost a lot of body fat. But here's where we're going to run into problems. And this is honestly probably the most common thing that I hear. If you wait and don't do any resistance training, and if you're using an approach to fat loss where you are probably not taking in enough protein, right? You're not doing any resistance training, you're actually going to lose skeletal muscle or lean body mass. So of that, let's say you said you wanted to get down 80 pounds. Of that 80 pounds that you lost, we can assume that you've lost a significant amount of that, as much as 25% from skeletal muscle and lean body mass. Now, the issue here is that you're so focused on the scale, and I'm going to give you a plan that I think would be worthwhile for you to do. But the issue here is that you're so focused on the scale getting down, you want to see that number. What's going to happen when you start eating more protein and doing your resistance training again? The scale is going to go up, and that might mess with your head. Why? Muscle, it has volume, it has size to our body. But for me, the real problem is that even if you get to that weight that you want to get to, you're probably going to hate the way you look. The shape of your body, often the term is often coined as like skinny fat, right? And so if you don't have muscle on your frame, it's going to create a place where you just don't feel comfortable at that weight, and you might just keep digging down that hole, trying to get lighter and lighter till you like the way you look. But here's what I would do in this situation. I know you're loving seeing the scale go down, but if you're not hitting your minimum amount of protein, and if you don't know how much protein that should be, I have a free calculator. I'll put it below, ProPhysiqueMacros.com. The idea here is that by ingesting enough protein on a daily basis, we prevent muscle breakdown, and we also can encourage muscle building. The real goal should not be just to see a lower number on the scale, although that will happen over time. What we should really be shooting for are seeing our measurements go down and our body composition improve, okay? I want to read a statement from you from a study that addressed the idea of losing skeletal muscle during a fat loss phase and just how damaging that can be. Muscle loss is associated with delayed recovery from illness, slowed wound healing, reduced resting metabolic rate, physical disability, poorer quality of life, and higher health care costs. That's what happens when you lose muscle. So although the fact that you are actually losing weight, you're reducing your resting metabolic rate. So over time, you're going to have to work even harder and get even less benefit from it, okay? Whereas if during this period, and what I would suggest you do is do some resistance training at least 2 to 3 days a week. Now, I'm not saying you need to go in there and try to be a professional bodybuilder, but if you're hitting each muscle group 2 to 3 times a week, if you're hitting entire body, 1 or twice a week, but you're, couple sets, it's really going to prevent you from losing muscle. Now, part of our summer sculpt challenge, transformation challenge that we have going on right now for the next 8 weeks, we are setting you up with nutrition plans, training plans. And when it comes to our challenges, we are not focused on the scale dropping. We do like to see the weight loss over the course of our challenges, but we focus on the before and after, the visuals, right? So I'll show you some of the females here, and I'll show you some of the other men here, okay? What we look for in these challenges to determine our winners is who has the best transformation. Some of them don't even lose that much weight because they're able to put on muscle while they're losing body fat. Now, the conditions where you can add muscle and lose body fat typically means you have a lot of excess body fat and you don't have a lot of history of resistance training, and probably you've been treating your body like a carnival, right? You've just been not really treating it well. Amazing things happen when you start eating properly, start treating yourself properly, get good sleep, doing all these things in conjunction. You can really see some huge changes, and that's what I think this challenge is exciting for me. It also gives you a deadline, right? So we are still accepting for this current challenge, and it is open worldwide. So if you're interested in getting involved in something like that, but the reason I wanted to address your question today is because it's really concerning to me that you're waiting till it's you're completely at a number on the scale that is very arbitrary. Because remember, even though the scale might say 190 or 210 or whatever the number was, it's probably actually 20 pounds heavier and you've just lost 20 pounds of muscle, a lean body mass. So as soon as you start doing some resistance training, you're probably going to recomp a little bit, put some of that weight back on. That might mess with your head. You might say, well, crap, I give up. Do me a favor. Take pictures and take measurements. As a coach, when my clients check in on my online platform, I'm getting measurements, I'm getting pictures, I'm getting weight, yes, but I'm also getting a bunch of wellness scores. How is sleep? How is hunger? How's recovery? How is consistency? So that's where I measure success. I've even given clients mad props for not making any progress in a week. Why? Because their adherence was a 10. I'm like, hey, look, even though we didn't make any fat loss this week, you crushed it, you nailed it. So I know progress is coming. We're going to adjust the plan. But to me, that's more of a trait of a successful person that's going to transform their physique, is that they see the big picture, okay? You got to understand that if you lose weight just through cardio and diet, and honestly, if you're losing that much weight through diet, are you doing some form of fasting? Is your protein very low? Are you completely avoiding carbohydrates? The reason I mention those approaches is because those are usually short-term approaches that are not sustainable, okay? You want to take an approach to fat loss that's sustainable. The tools you use to get the fat off are going to be the same tools you use to keep it off. And if the tools you use to get it off are not tools that you want to use for the rest of your life, I'm sorry. That fat is going to come right back. You're going to be in a real bad spot because the next time you go to lose fat, it's going to be even harder. Why? You've got less lean body mass now, right? And potentially, depending on your age, we're looking at some other health conditions that could be a concern. So although, listen, I commend you for taking action for losing body fat, I would suggest you don't wait till you hit a certain weight. Just start going in the gym, making sure you're hitting enough protein. Now, for protein, if you don't want to use the calculator, here's what I'll tell you. Whatever your goal weight is, that's your protein. I think you mentioned 190. If you're hitting 190 grams of protein a day, that is going to be plenty for your needs for building muscle, okay? And it's going to really help you with this process. Why? Because protein is great for satiety. It keeps you nice and full. But ultimately, what my biggest concern is that you don't have these huge swings, right? And if you're just losing fat through non-sustainable methods, you're not going to sustain the fat loss. You're going to end up in a worse place. And then you're going to be right back here in my videos asking me questions about how to do it the right way. The right way is to do it the way that coaches and us are going to guide you to do it in this challenge. So we're going to provide meal plans and training plans. That's why it's so valuable, along with the deadline. But our challenges, even though they're a short time frame, we really look at this as a lifetime of adjustments, right? And so we want to make sure that we're setting you up for success, not just for 8 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever the length of the challenge is, but for the rest of your life, that you're getting these tools that you can understand. I know how to get my body as shredded as I want it. I know how to get my body as strong as I want it. What I do with that knowledge is up to me. Some people don't even have the knowledge to get the physique that they want. And that's what I want for you guys. Okay. Hope you guys are having a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you tomorrow.